Hey folks, Jonathan Wilson and Toga Man Guitar Vials. I want to clear up a few things about how bow bridges work, guitar bridges. So you can see I've got a couple models here. And the general behavior of strings, and that affects not only how the instrument works, but also how pickups work. First of all, I want to just go with Mr. String here first. There's Mr. String. That's like we chopped Mr. String and we're looking towards, you know, the neck or the bridge or whatever. But anyway, what happens is Mr. Bow goes on Mr. String. And we've got direction that goes kind of like that. Mr. Bow has a little rosin on there, so it sort of catches the string, and guess what? The string also moves exclusively in that direction. What happens actually, and a lot of the times there's a misunderstanding about that. So when we pluck it, it actually will go, you know, in all sort of directions, usually in an elliptical kind of, you know, motion kind of thing. So here's Mr. String going like this, and then here's Mr. String going like this, okay? So when we have a pickup underneath it, no matter how close we get the pickup to it, it's really gonna be very thin and out of phase sounding, very poor. Now, if we actually, I'm gonna get rid of Mr. Pluck here for a second. Here's Mr. Bow, so this is the bow. And the bow again goes this way like that, okay? So when the string is moving like that, we don't really get much. And if we actually tip it over like this in the direction, aha, now we're gonna get somewhere, right? So we can kind of maybe get a little of that drift. What happens is, when we have it like this, we get a little thin, scratchy kind of sound. But then when we let off, it kind of returns back to its sort of default of elliptical motion, and then it gets loud. So it's kind of like this little fade-in kind of effect. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about how the actual bridges work. First of all, let's just go with Mr. Guitar here for a second. And this bridge here, you can see, is very poor for getting any individual strings on here. But we can kind of, and actually you can get a little note out of it. Kind of cool. These are like a little aluminum tubes. Anyway, but you're going to see that we have a very limited angle because of the guitar top there. This, as you can see, is the top. And what needs to happen for the top to move, it's like a speaker. It has to go like this, kind of like a speaker, okay? Now, it's not going to go like a speaker if the bow is going this way, and it's going to go this way like this. You're not going to get much. If you bow it like this, it'll go up and down like that. Ooh, kind of cool, huh? So that's why there's a guy on the internet who's got these little tiny mini bows. I'm just made a little quick model out of some flax and little, you know, popsicle stick kind of thing. But if you actually go in here and you can, you know, bow it in this direction, the bridge will go up and down like that, okay? Going like this, you're not gonna get much. It's gonna be sort of nice for maybe some limited one-trick pony kind of ambient switches, but that's about it. Now, on the other hand, a bowed string bridge, where we have, I'm gonna turn this around like this. So basically, we can have like the strings individually bowed, but you notice it's a much taller bridge. It's far taller and farther away from the top is this little guy here, see? Now, what happens is, when we bow it, it pulls the bridge in a rocking motion like this. But that's not the complete picture. The complete picture is, I have to put down the bow for a second, I know, but anyway, so we have inside the instrument, so what we have here is a spruce top, and then we have the actual, this is a bass bar. So we're kind of chopping that instrument like this, sort of, to get this view. So basically what's gonna happen is we're gonna have this little guy here underneath the treble foot. And this goes inside the instrument. It just holds the instrument together. It's part of a structural thing. But what happens is, when it gets bowed, this thing goes up and down like this. It pumps the top. It also pumps this bass bar side, okay? So we get this sort of side-by-side pumping motion that goes a little bit like that, okay? Now, that's very important to know that. Now when you pluck it, it's gonna be not quite as strong as, say, something that's a little closer to the top and is gonna take the top with it like this when you're plucking it. You do get some, and that's why, like for example, a stand-up bass might have a really gentle sort of a sound, but then when you bow it, it gets super loud because it's really kind of meant to be bowed. So you have a little bit of a physics kind of thing going on there. Anyway, I had to respond to some of the bad information I see floating around out there on the internet, because there's a lot of it, trust me. A lot of self-proclaimed experts who've never actually tried to throw the spaghetti to the wall and see what sticks. In any event, if you're interested in the type of instruments I build, go to guitarviols.com. That's GUITARVIOLS.com. Have an exceedingly awesome day. Be inspired.